talk to me about like the dark times of entrepreneurship, right? Like I've heard Alex's part of, when like all the money left the account, like what is the internal dialogue that's going through your mind, and how are you getting through those times of like, this is so uncertain, like what the fuck are we gonna do, like, you know what I mean, like that's, I'm really interested in that part of the mindset and everything behind entrepreneurship.
I mean, I think that I would bet everybody watching this that's an entrepreneur has had the moments where you're like, am I a complete fucking idiot? Like, people think I'm this, like, I'm totally a sham. Like, I'm really not as smart as I think I am. Like, you know, I don't think I can do this. Maybe I'm like completely in over my head. Like, I think everybody has those thoughts, like, I mean, fuck, I still have them. Like, it's not like I go away. I think here's the thing is like, I think we all have those like really messed up thoughts about how it's like, it's always the same shit, right? It's just like same thing, different costume.
You're a fraud. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you're a failure.
Yeah, here's the thing. There's two things to that I would say, which is like, one, show me a loser who is concerned with doing well. Like somebody who's like a complete, like not going to be successful, like doesn't care about other people, isn't trying and putting in a lot of effort, doesn't care. They don't think that way. This is what I call like the downside of the upside. Like when you care a lot about something, you also get overly concerned with it. And then you have thoughts like that. Worst case scenario, I'm not good enough, all these things. So I look at it as a gift, because if you didn't have those thoughts, you also probably wouldn't care enough to actually be successful. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Was there like a mantra for you or something, or like a quote or something that you were like grasping onto during the time? And like I said, I've heard the story from Alex, but I've never heard it from your angle. Like, this is like, we're going all in. This is it. There's no plan B, and everything's fucked. Like everything just slipped away from us. Like we fumbled the bag basically, right? What is the dialogue within that to where you're like, no, we're not going back, right?
I don't rely on the dialogue, because dude, the dialogue was not good. The dialogue was like, you suck. The dialogue was like, this isn't going to work. I'm fucking 23 trying to run like a 8-figure whatever business. I've never managed people. I have no experience. My brain had no evidence that I would ever be successful doing that, nor did his. And so what I did was I committed to the process. I was like, if I stick with the plan and I follow the process and I take the actions that somebody who was successful and didn't have these thoughts would take, then maybe I have a shot. And that is literally what I've always relied on. I tell people all the time, you don't need to think a certain way. You don't need to feel a certain way about yourself to be successful. Just like people who diet and they're like, I don't believe I can lose weight. If you eat in a calorie deficit, no matter what thoughts come up into your head, you will lose weight.
Yeah.
So if you take the actions that somebody that wasn't having those thoughts would have. So the mantra that I have had for that, Nate, is prove yourself wrong. I have those thoughts that come into my head. I just think to myself, prove yourself wrong. Go take the action despite the fact that you don't believe that you can do it. I think, I get people who are positive thinking. Listen, I also have plenty of negative thinking. It doesn't fucking happen. So it's like, I look at it like my thoughts only affect a certain amount. Like my behavior is actually what dictates most of the results of my life, not my thoughts. Because oftentimes I tell myself.
You kind of work from the end, right? Like you're working for, like, if I was in the frame of the person that I want to be, this is what I would do.
Yeah. I mean, think of, say it's Alex that you're thinking of. What actions would Alex take in this situation? You can feel differently than Alex. You can think differently from Alex. But if you take the same actions, you can get a similar result. That is all that matters at the end of the day. And the thing is, the thoughts and the feelings will follow the behavior. This is like where we mess up things. We correlate like a thought and a feeling. We feel it usually after the behavior. So once you achieve the thing, then you will be like, oh, I think I can do this. I think I could do that again. The first time like I spoke on stage, I literally kept thinking I was going to have a panic attack when I stepped on stage, like mouth dry, like sweating profusely, whatever. And I was like, I'm totally having a panic attack when I got on stage. I went on stage and I was totally fine. And so after that, I was like, oh, I'm totally fine. I can speak on stage. But like I had to do the thing to earn the evidence to prove to myself that I can do the thing.
Yeah. So you're saying that the actions that you're taking is giving you the physical proof that you're able to do it. And you keep understanding that if you keep working, you're going to keep stacking that evidence. You're going to understand that, like, I'm capable of more, I'm capable of more, I'm capable of more, I'm capable of more. And then you get to the point where I found out like you start stacking so much evidence of things that you never thought were possible that you're like, what the fuck can I do? Really? I mean,
Yes.
right?
And that's where confidence comes from, is you've done enough things that you didn't believe you could do, and you've done them anyways, that then you feel confident when a new task comes. I think I can do this because I have so much evidence now to prove why I can rather than why I can't. It's just hard to get going. It's hard, but it's completely possible.
So was there ever a time like within that initial part where you're like, I can't push this train to get the momentum going, like or was it just automatically like, if I do the actions, was there any delay? Like, did you kick around, like, or was it just right away?
I think that there's delay in the beginning. Like I talk about how it took me a while to get started. Like I was definitely like a entrepreneur, like constantly over consuming content, which a lot of people do. And then
I gotta know more. I gotta know more. I gotta know more. I gotta know more.
Yeah, like the truth is like, I mean, I believe most things you can learn, and you learn best by doing. And people always are like, what book are you reading? I'm like, sometimes I'm not reading a fucking book at all. And sometimes I don't want to read a book because I learn way more just throwing shit at the wall and not being afraid to fail and then trying again, And so I think like for me, like, yeah, there's time in the beginning where it was tough, but then I realized very quickly I was wasting a lot of time that I could have just been taking action and learning. And so now I learned that I just need to have a bias more towards action. And I think that in the beginning, that's what a lot of people need. They have a bias towards thinking, and you just need to sway it over to a bias towards action and get so busy trying things that you don't have time to doubt yourself.
Okay. And in the beginning, like you said, when you were taking those actions, you were collecting that evidence, right? What was going through your mind when you were collecting the evidence that it wasn't working? Right? Because I think that happens with a lot of people, right? I'm gonna start doing. That's fine, Layla. But what happens when all the evidence I'm collecting says I'm a fuck up and I'm a failure and what I'm doing is not working?
I mean, maybe what you're doing right now isn't working right now, but maybe it'll work in 6 months. I think that a lot of the times what it is lack of patience.
Yeah,
it's 100%. That we want things to happen on our timeline. I do too, Nate. I'm like, why is acquisition.com not 10 billion yet? Like we have all of the resources. Like, why are we not there yet? Like we should be like with what everyone, like, it just makes no sense, right? It's like, I'm very impatient about that, but I recognize that things will not happen on my timeline. And I think you have to give yourself grace. And I think that what most people do in the beginning is they have a very skewed understanding of how long things take. Yeah, sometimes it might be that you're one skill away from unlocking the success that you need. You might just need one more skill. And so the biggest thing is not giving up. Like, I don't know many people who, once they have confirmed with somebody who maybe is a few steps ahead that their strategy is sound, then they start working on it. I don't know many people that when they have been confirmed that they have a sound strategy, don't actually achieve it if they just continue to try. Because business is a lot harder than people think. Getting things started is way harder than you think. Yeah. Continuing to grow business is way harder than you think. And a lot of people put out the perception that it's a lot easier and more sexy than it is. I mean, we have a portfolio of companies, and I see hundreds of companies a week, their financials, their market, their revenue, their trend. Most companies don't go like this. It's like shit the bed, grow, shit the bed, grow. Like it's in steps. And I think most of life is that way.
Yeah, so I really like where you guys highlight that. It's really powerful how you guys are very like in tune with your audience and understanding like most people are suffering in their own journey and they don't think that there's that light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's really cool how you guys are constantly highlighting how long things take, right? Or how much you had to go through to get to where you're at. I think that's really cool.
Everything's going to take longer and be harder than you think it is. So remind yourself of that.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate you, Nate.